Zoom, please use the raise hand function for questions. We will get started with Texas Tech here. Opening statement from Coach McCaslin, followed by questions for the athletes. You guys, welcome. Whenever you're ready, Coach.
Yeah, any day you're still practicing and playing in March is a great day. We're thrilled to be in the Elite Eight, and would be lying if we didn't say we expected to still be playing. And a lot of belief on this team. Last night was a phenomenal college basketball game, and man, it's such a blessing to still be competing in the NCAA tournament, and we don't take this lightly. And so we are excited and thankful to be up here with these two guys, and we would not have won last night if it wasn't for Kevin Overton and Federico, a.k.a. Fede, 2 times.
We'll open it to questions for the players. Josh?
For Kevin, just what was the process like of just getting over last night, getting to bed last night? Obviously, late game, a lot of excitement, and then how do you sort of regroup with the big game coming tomorrow?
Just accepted that we won. You celebrated for a little bit, and then once you go to sleep and wake up, it's on to the next game, and then just focus on the next team.
Nathan Hughes, Lubbock Avalanche Journal for Kevin and Fede. Just how much of a game like that is knowing that you have the ability to do it, but also just believing in your mind that you can just kind of do it if you just keep pushing through?
I feel like everybody coming into the game had the mindset that we're going to win. So it showed in the court.
I think it's our mindset every game, every practice. Coach Mack does a great job of just reminding us that we're going to win the game, regardless of the adversity that comes through. We're going to win the game. So with that mindset, you just keep playing.
Kyle Bonnegar with ESPN. This is for both of you guys. Both of you transferred in the offseason. I wonder if you could kind of both tell the story of why Texas Tech was appealing and what that process was like to ultimately decide to come and play in Lubbock. Thanks.
I mean, I would say the staff, my first visit here, it was super, like, they took me in, like, if I had a feeling like I belong here, and the personalities just around, like Darian, Chance, everybody on the team, honestly, it just, so, yeah.
Definitely the staff. Coming from where I was coming from last year, I just wanted to put myself in a situation that just made me better and made me uncomfortable, and I think that's what Texas Tech could have did for me. So I knew a few people on the staff, and then obviously knowing Coach Mack's background just helped me decide, yes, I want to come here, and I'm going to get pushed. So that's the reason why I came.
Ron Krychek from the San Francisco Chronicle for both of you. I imagine once the game starts in the tournament, you kind of get lost in the game. But is tomorrow any different, knowing what's at stake, the fact that you're only one step away from the Final Four? Does that enter your mind at all leading up to it, or can you lose yourself in the task at hand?
It's definitely one game at a time, one play at a time. You don't really think past the game that you have in front of you. So I think it's just we focus on what we have, like you said, but you don't we know why we're here, but yeah, we're not thinking about the Final Four. We're just worried about one game at a time.
Yeah. Trying to go 1-0.
Yeah.
Kevin, Coach called Darian the heart of the team last night. What is it about him that makes him the heart of your team?
I would say his unselfishness to the team. It's unconditional. Even I've seen him on his worst days. He's still with us. Like he's mad at himself, but I think he's because he wants to help us so much is why he's so hard on himself. So I think to play a game that you played yesterday, not being able to make shots early or struggling early, but to keep the confidence to make those shots down the stretch, I think is why I would say he's the heart of the team, just that confidence and his will to go win for us.
Yeah, Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun for either player. I know it's been a kind of a quick turnaround, but how much scouting have you done on Florida, and what are some of the challenges you anticipate in the game on Saturday?
I mean, we went through some players. I feel like their size is one of them things, and they are aggressive, super aggressive. So those two things.
I'm familiar with the team. Obviously, we haven't watched the details of it, but we know enough as far as the players and the scout, and then we'll do more and we'll learn more about them as the day goes through.
Lindsay Schnell, The Athletic. I'd like both of you to answer this. What's your favorite thing about JT that has nothing to do with basketball?
Oh, you're going to get a good answer now.
Man, it's
Be
swag.
careful.
Swag, yeah, it's swag. His off the court, his personality is just like, it's very kind of nonchalant, but when he gets on the court, you see the complete opposite. So I think it's a good balance for him. It's just funny to see.
Yeah, nonchalant, and he locks in as soon as we get to the court.
Facts, though.
Further question?
I'll let these guys handle it. We'll talk after. First time I met JT, he was sitting on a couch, and he said, "What's up, Coach?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is going to be different than you think, my man."
We'll go to one final question for the players on Zoom. Sean, ready when you are.
Sean Dillon, Alpha Media USA. For both of you, what does Coach McCasland mean to you, and how has he mentally prepared you for tomorrow's game?
I'll go first.
I mean, it means a lot, I think, for everybody here. He keeps us accountable on everything, honestly. And, I mean, yeah, keeping us accountable on everything will have us ready for tomorrow.
Personally, for me, it's just my focus on the right things. I think has been all year for me. Has been my challenge, especially being coached under him. Not an easy guy to play for all the time, but he keeps me on the right things, and I think that's what I can appreciate. Is I came here to be uncomfortable, and he's done that for me. So yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for your time. You guys are good to go.
Nice job, fellas.
Take this time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll open it to questions for Coach McCasland.
Yeah, Kyle Bonnegar with ESPN again. Coach, you've probably told this story before, but we're kind of reset it for us. The story of recruiting JT, kind of obviously he tested the NBA waters, started in New Mexico. Kind of walk us through the process that allowed him to join your program.
Yeah, well, we've watched JT since he was young, and actually didn't make his team when he was younger, and I got a chance to watch him as a sophomore and junior on one of the best teams in the state of Texas, and he played for a great summer team, but they didn't throw him the ball very often. Like, he always had to go rebound to score, and he's always had a real workman's-like approach to the game. He just goes out there and competes, and he never was like the best player on his team. He was always a role player. So, and even at New Mexico, you know, he rebounded and offensive rebounded to score. And they'd throw him the ball some, but he wasn't a focal point of their offense. So in recruiting him, he really did have that mentality. It wasn't like he was telling you what he needed or how he was going to score. I think a lot of people had expectation for him. I think he just wanted to be on a team. And I think he was looking for a relationship with people that he knew, and he had a great relationship with Kellen Buffington, who's our GM. And Buff's an unbelievable guy that everybody loves, and so it was an easy interaction initially because he had known Buff. And so when we first started recruiting him, I think our challenge to him was what we wanted him to push him, because he tested the draft waters and he led the combine in rebounding, which is unbelievable. But we wanted to challenge him to be a focal point, to be a more dynamic player, to be a guy that we could count on, that we could go to, and obviously ended up being Big 12 Player of the Year. But then the initial reaction, my initial encounters with JT, he was so casual. I was like, this dude's going to have a hard time being a Player of the Year or being a focal point, because they said it. I mean, the guy said it. He was really laid back. I mean, super laid back. And he just doesn't ever, he's fun to be around because he's funny and he's truthful. I mean, he doesn't ever say what he doesn't believe. If he says it, it's honestly what he's thinking. But he also, when we got him on the court and he played in the summer, and the first time we played 5-on-5, like, he was ultra aggressive and competitive. And like I said, when we lost to St. Joe's early in the year, he had a double-double, and I think he had like 28 points or something. And he was so mad in the locker room that we lost the game. I was like, we really got something in this guy. For as casual as he was in the recruiting process, he really turns it on when it's competitive, and that's what, our guys were talking about. But in the recruiting process, I think he trusted people around him, and I'm thankful for that, because it's not easy making these decisions when it's short process and you're testing the NBA draft waters and you're trying to pick a school. And he actually never even visited campus, made a decision without it. But that just goes to show you how influential Kellen Buffington was in this process.
And then when you are kind of evaluating guys in the portal, is there an overarching characteristic or personality trait that you look for to make sure it's a right fit? You can watch them on tape, but as far as kind of fitting in the locker room.
Yeah, well, we rely on our guys a lot too. I mean, who knows them? We had recruited some guys that we had already had a part of our team, and they had known JT. And when we bring guys on campus, I mean, Fede said it when they were talking about what made you choose, and it was Darian and Chance. Like, we really ask a lot of those guys to get to know them, and they've someone that we wanted as a staff. They've come to us in the office and said, he's not a good fit for us, coach. All he did was talk about himself and how he was going to get shots. He's in a good spot for him. And I think we listened to him, and the people around him is a big evaluation in the process of figuring out who we want a part of our team and making sure that they have the same heart. So I'll tell you, when I meet with them, I meet with everybody, like trainer, coach, whoever you think is influential. We all sit around the table, and I tell them honestly what I think we can do and how they'll play for us. And so as long as they can hear the truth, and KO addressed it. He's like, man, he just holds people accountable. And I want to be honest up front with what I think the expectation are, and then hold them accountable to what we tell them that we really believe in. And if everybody's on the same page with that, then we can do it. And if somebody says, I think he should start and I think he should play the point and he's a forward, I'm like, this probably ain't going to work for all of us.
Grant, hey, Brian Hamilton from The Athletic. A little bit of tumult in Tech when you got there, which is not unusual when there's a change. What did you do, or what did you focus on early to kind of create stability quickly?
Well, the first thing that we tried to do as a staff was to listen to them and do more time listening than I did talking. And just tried to be around the guys and the people that were important to them, and the players in our program and the people that were important to them, so I could hear honestly what they had to say. And I think a lot of times you can go into these rooms and you can have a lot of answers for people, but honestly, in taking the job, I'd played in the Southwest Conference and played in the Big 12 against Texas Tech. And then my first job was for James Dickey as the director of basketball operations at Texas Tech. So in '99, I had been there and had a relationship, and it was always something that would have been a dream to be the head coach of the Red Raiders. But it wasn't something that I was just passionately trying to pursue, because I just loved the job that I was at, and that's what I wanted to do. But when we took over, and knowing how great a job all these coaches did, and I reached out to a lot of them, and Chris Beard gave me some great advice. He was like, man, I would listen to those guys and see what they have to say. And I listened. And I went in there with the approach that I wanted to hear the heart of the guys that were there. And I'll tell you one thing that was consistent across the board: nobody wanted to leave. And with a lot that was going on, and I love Coach Adams. I just talked to him before I came up here about Florida. And he didn't give me anything. He didn't want to hurt the SEC. but those guys are awesome, and they built it into, I think, one of the premier college basketball programs in the country. And I really wanted to give those guys an opportunity on the team to tell me what they really thought, and they love Texas Tech. They love living in Lubbock. And so once that was true, then I had to decide, like, who was going to stay and why. And then it had to get back to, like, did it fit us and did it fit the way we wanted to play, and did the heart of the people on our team really want to win, or did they just want to play good so they could get a pro opportunity? And that's what I basically got to the bottom of. And that's the cool thing about being a Red Raider, man. When you get to Lubbock and you live in Lubbock, it changes your life. It's like one of the best places you'll ever live. It is the best place for us. And that's what the coolest part was. And so what I had to get to the bottom of was just who really wanted to win. And the guys that stayed wanted to win. And the guys that we've added, their heart is they want to win more than they want to play good.
Coach, Lane Higgins from the Wall Street Journal. If you look at the makeup of, both the guys that were sitting on the dais here with you and several of your other players, and also the team that you're going up against, a lot of these guys are players that kind of needed a few more years to mature and maybe didn't get they weren't Cooper Flagg coming out of high school per se. And do you think that that's going to be more the norm in college basketball? Like, we've seen it get older in, the teams that are making deep runs tend to be the ones with veteran leadership. But do you think that that's going to be increasingly the norm, that it's these players that maybe broke out on the mid-major stage and then transferred to a program like Texas Tech?
Well, if you look at the teams that have had the most success in the Big 12, and I'll only speak to that because that's what, like Houston, let's say, for example, who's still playing, they returned the most on a roster in our league. And Arizona, who was still playing, returned a large majority of their roster, even though they started at other places. So, one, I will tell you, I think it's more difficult now than ever to have returners that commit to being somewhere and building a team. I do think that that's extremely difficult, but the programs that are able to do that are the ones that have success. It's not necessarily the mid-major guys that come in and can help you because of their experience. It's their experience on your roster that allows you to be elite. And that's what you see with our team and Darian and Chance, but it also makes it in Kerwin, but it makes it difficult because Chance isn't playing, but it gives opportunities for other guys to step up. But Chance's leadership, we would not be where we were, even though he's not playing, because of him. So to me, the most important factor isn't just getting the experience of someone that's played and then you get the benefit of being coached and playing. I think it's the experience of your team together that actually is the greatest separator going into the next season.
And just a quick follow-up, that I have my own theories about this, but can you just explain why you think it's so hard to kind of have the continuity in this era of college basketball?
Well, one, everybody's trying to figure out how to position themselves, and with the ability to transfer every year and there being no way to hold people to a team that gives you a chance to build it, it's just so many people pulling at them trying to figure out what's next, and no one's trying to figure out how to be great where they are. They're trying to figure out what's next for them to be great. And it's not to say that those aren't valuable things to consider, but when it's just that easy to move teams, and I think everybody should have the opportunity to move if it doesn't fit and if circumstances are that way. But I'm just telling you, when you're trying to build a team to win, it's very, very difficult. And I'm thankful that we're moving in this direction. So I'm welcoming all of it because there needed to be significant change in our sport. I believe that with all my heart. I mean, we were way overdue for the things that are happening right now. It's just there's not a very good structure to build and make this something that's sustainable over time. And where we are right now is not it.
Franz Beard, Gator Bait Magazine. Coach, you talked to me about the transfer portal, which gives and takes away, but if you could make a couple of suggestions to add some guardrails to it, what would they be?
Well, man, I'm just trying to beat Florida, to be honest. So, but the truth in regard to that is there has to be a way for us to to be able to help guys follow through on commitments within reason, and I'm sure there are ways to do it, but this feels like it's moving more to a pro model, if you will, in some way, shape, or form. And then how do we help bring some longevity to the opportunity that we have of keeping people on the same team for a shorter amount of time? And I don't know what that looks like. I don't even know the answers to it. I'm not smart enough to figure it out, and I'm thankful that there are people that are much more intelligent than I am at this. But I think for the long run, I love the opportunities our guys get to make money off of their name, image, likeness, and their opportunity to play, because I see it changing families. Federico being one of them, man. I mean, we had a coach that went into his apartment back home in Finland who said that his parents got furniture in their apartment, and that's awesome. And for me, something like that, who Fede is just always looking out for other people, I mean, that's what this is about for me, is how do we help people help their families and help improve their lives in a way that's real. But when it comes to our ability to keep some continuity, there just has to be a structure that helps us build some momentum and build some character within our teams to grow and continue to handle adversity in a way that's real and helps them when they step out into their next opportunities.
Yeah, Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun. Coach, how powerful is adrenaline going into a game tomorrow versus playing an emotional game late into the night, into overtime, and how do you handle things like practice and rest kind of going into this matchup on Saturday?
Yeah, ultimately, I think your practice throughout the year is what prepares you for this. And you can't do anything in one day that's any different that's going to make that big of an impact. But we will get out there and we'll move around today. We'll stretch. I mean, we had several guys that played close to 40 minutes or over. So I think our ability to get rest is the most important part, and that's what we've done with our team. But this adrenaline takes over when you play in these games. And there's enough time in between games. It's not like conference tournament where you're turning around and playing less than 24 hours. I think that's huge for us. We would prefer more rest, but with our team, there's enough grit in our locker room to be prepared for the next one, and adrenaline is sure a huge part of it.
Last two here.
Josh Dubow from AP. What's the status of Chance for tomorrow?
No change in regard to how we're approaching it. I mean, we'll get him out there and shoot around here in a few minutes, and we'll see how his body responds and give him the opportunity if he wants to compete and see what he can tolerate. And hopefully we'll get him back in some way. But it's hard to say until we get closer to game time and he warms up and see how he feels.
And that one possession you guys had, about 8 minutes left, just when Federico got, I think, 4 offensive rebounds on one trip. How do you assess that? His want to on that, and how does it sort of describe your team maybe?
I mean, so our first year at Tech, our staff, we were playing at the University of Houston, and if you know anything about the University of Houston, they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country, and we're late in the game, and we got down double figures, and I was walking onto the court after I called a timeout to watch the faces of our players as they were walking back to the bench to see who actually really wanted to keep fighting, because they're so physical that they break teams eventually with their physicality. And not everybody likes that discomfort. Not everybody likes the adversity that comes with playing against teams that are that physical and put that much pressure on you in a real way. And there were some guys dropping their heads. There were some guys that probably wanted to win but didn't know how it was going to work out. And that's what I love about Federico, because when you look in the eyes of these guys, when we're down 13 points with 4 minutes and whatever seconds left, or you're down 16 points with, 12 minutes left, whatever it was, guys like Federico are not fazed. Like, honestly, they see the game as how we can win. And he was in the timeout, and he doesn't do this often. Actually, I can only count on one hand the times that he's actually communicated in like a real way. But he communicated how he was going to guard the ball screen differently, and how he was going to make sure that we limited the opportunities of them making threes. When John L. Davis made that three off the ball screen at the top, he was the one in coverage. And I thought to myself, like, it's the same look that I'm looking for when I'm walking on the court when it's difficult, when we were losing at Houston our first year. he was not phased, and he was finding a way to win, and he told the team that. And so that possession was just like that whole will to win, and Federico is such a great example of what our team is about. It's just, it doesn't matter what odds are stacked against you or how physically talented the other team is, we're going to find a way, and did Fede find a way on that possession to win us the game. And I thought that really gave our team the life that we needed to say that we are going to do this. Not we can do this, but we are going to do this, and this is how. Beat them on extra effort plays and Federico's possession where he got those offensive rebounds. And he actually ended up scoring it at the end. It wasn't like he dished it to a three. He scored it, which rarely happens for him, but for him on that possession, I couldn't have been happier for him.
Last question here.
Grant, Ron Krejcik from the San Francisco Chronicle. For those of us who haven't seen Darian a ton, what do you remember about the first time you saw him? I mean, it seems, if you look at his body, it's different than a lot of, you're usually looking for long, lean players, and he's sort of built like a linebacker. But how has he used that to his advantage, and how has he evolved as a player since you first saw him?
Yeah, well, he was the first player that committed to us, and he was the first guy that signed with us, and he believed in us first. And when I watched him play, there was two parts of it that really stood out to me. One, he was a 3-to-1 assist to turnover guy, and as a true freshman, he led Nevada in rebounding. I mean, who does that? And then he shot one of the best percentages on their team from three. So just feel for the game. But I got a phone call from a guy named Pierre Jackson that played point for us when I was an assistant at Baylor. And Pierre lived in Vegas and would play pickup games. And he called me and said, "Hey, Coach, I hear you're recruiting one of my guys." I'm like, "Who?" And I didn't know who he was talking about. He's like, "Darian Williams." He said, "Coach, I love playing with him." And if you know Pierre Jackson, he doesn't like to play with anybody that doesn't pass. So NBA guys hate playing with guys in the summer because it's just usually whoever gets the ball is who keeps it. But that said to me that Darian Williams knows how to win. Like how many guys know how to make pros happy and then find a way to keep them on the court, because if you win, you stay. And when I watched him play for Nevada, he was a role player, but he made the most impact. Why? Because they never took him off the floor. And as coaches, we have guys that we trust, and you can say you trust somebody, but you know how you know if someone trusts somebody? They play them the whole time. And honestly, that was him. So when he got on our roster, he doesn't dunk. He doesn't go anywhere super fast. And he's not going to go out there and bully you by the way that he competes. He actually lets the flow of the game come to him. But I told people he's our best player. And we had talent running around him. I mean, that everybody thought was. But I genuinely believed he was our best player. And here's the reason why. Because he wins. And you saw it at the end of the game. He missed a three, and he ran in there and got a jump ball. It's like that. Like, how do you teach that? That didn't have anything to do with jumping. That didn't have anything to do with being able to shoot. That didn't have anything to do with dunking on somebody. It has to do with, like, your will to win and your understanding of what the team needs. And that's my greatest compliment to him. What I saw on film was he was willing to do whatever it took to help the team win. And if I felt like we could lean on anything, it would be that. And that's what we wanted to start our program with. And I had a family member of a significant player on our team telling me we were making a huge mistake recruiting him because he was not talented enough to play in the Big 12. And Darian Williams isn't just talented enough to play in the Big 12. He's an all Big 12 player that's got our team in the Elite Eight.
Coach, thank you. See you tomorrow.
Wreck 'em. Thank y'all.
All right, everyone. Texas Tech breakouts are currently going on out in the hallway. That is with last night's starting five. That's Christian Anderson, JT Toppin, Darian Williams, Elijah Hawkins, and Kerwin Walton. That will go on until 3:30. We will have Florida